Cancel culture strikes again, trying to take out a perfectly good and nice restaurant called the Indian Road Cafe right here in New York City. Why is the cancel culture targeting this restaurant? Well, the owner, a guy by the name of Tom Bosco, happened to show up on MSNBC talking about COVID relief and the community and how to keep things going in the middle of a pandemic. And then this came up.
How do you think the president is doing?
I think he's doing a good job, as good as he can. I think there have definitely been some mistakes made. And looking in hindsight, there's definitely some things that could have been done differently.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I support him.
Did you vote for Trump last time?
I did. I voted for Trump last time.
Uh-oh, did you hear that? All hell broke loose and they tried to shut him down. I want to bring in Tom Bosco. He is a restaurant owner, and also Thane Rosenbaum. He just wrote a very important piece. It's called The Raging of Cancel Culture. It is a threat to us all. Welcome to you, Thane Rosenbaum, and to Tom. Nice to see you both. First to you, Tom. How bad did it get? And what the hell are you doing saying you voted for Trump on MSNBC?
First, Greg, thanks for having me on. And I don't know, to be honest with you. I had no idea that it would even come up. It wasn't relevant to why I was asked to go on the show. I was booked for a cultural segment about what it was like to run a business in the middle of a pandemic. And what they had found attractive was a lot of things that we had done that made us attractive to a story, like giving out 2,500 meals to frontline workers.
No, listen, you were doing a lot for the community. I understand why you're on there. And I watched the interview and it meandered into politics. You said you voted for Trump and that, the government was doing some good stuff. What happened next? When that interview aired and it hit Facebook and all that stuff, how did your life change?
Oh, it was like my life was lit on fire. I can't explain it. My life was threatened. My dog's life was threatened. It was suggested I not bring my dog to the restaurant or chain him up outside, literally I was attacked everywhere I went for some period of time.
Tom, sounds like it's dinner time at the restaurant. I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Yeah.
That's all right, Tom. Stand by for a second. Thane Rosenbaum, you've been studying this, and we're hearing it more and more, but I'm also hearing that folks, even on the left, are getting a little bit tired of cancel culture. Everyone's uncomfortable, but not enough people seem to be standing up. What are your thoughts?
Well, Greg, look, the left should be horrified by the cancel culture because it's completely illiberal. It's opposed to free speech. It's opposed to open inquiry and open markets. It's completely opposed to a marketplace of ideas. It doesn't allow for any complexity. Here's one argument, there's another argument. Let me think, give it some time, and I'll decide what I think, how I feel about it. Here, they simply tell you what to think and what culture you can consume. And the problem is it's not just wrong thinking, and that's what's just happened with my fellow guest. It's not that it's wrong thinking. It's not a friendly disagreement. He's considered morally depraved. It's beyond the pale. And that's why he has to go. That's why his dog has to go, right? So that's why I'm saying, Hamilton, Madison, George Washington, Jefferson, they would be horrified by this because they believed in free speech, open markets, open inquiry, freedom of assembly, freedom of thought, and being able to come to a public forum to have a serious discussion of ideas. And here, this is like, I know this is something you know about from your military days, Greg, and from your reporting days overseas. This is like a soft version of the Taliban, right? Because it's simply saying we are going to impose our own moral order. This is it. Yeah. This is our own moral vocabulary, and you either stay with us or get the consequences.
And it's so un-American. So, Tom, some folks are threatening you. They're getting in your face. Did you try reasoning with them? Did you try to say, hey, we're not on cable TV right now. Let's have an honest discussion about what's going on.
That's an interesting comment. And I did. A lot of the comments I want to tell you, I didn't go on Facebook and look at them, but I did. And I made a commitment not to kind of pause and not to react. And what I did, particularly with some of the worst I saw out there, is I reached out to those first people in private messages, and I said, "Hey, would you like to have a cup of coffee?" And I'd say a couple of dozen people took me up on that over a long period of time, and we had fantastic conversations. I wouldn't say we left chummy, but the most recent one I had was about a month and a half ago, and someone who said they wouldn't rest until I was driven from the community. And I just pinged her on social media, said, "Hey, would you like to have a cup of coffee?" I didn't get a response. I pinged her again. She said, "I would like to talk." We hopped on the phone. And I think in that a connection is made where you can, whether you agree with the person or not, we live in the same community. We probably identify on more things than we disagree with. More importantly, I think she got to see that there's a human being on the other side of that.
Yeah.
For me, there was a way to address this that was successful.
Well, listen, I'm glad you had that dialogue. You're obviously still in business. That's a good thing. And we're not the only ones interested. By the way, the New York Times did a story, and I think you found the story to be fair, although I was taken aback by the headline. The cafe has Black Lives Matter signs. The owner voted for Trump. As if those two don't go together and you were somehow being a phony. I know the article itself gave you a fair shake. Thane,
I mean, look, the headline is the headline. Like, if that's the worst I got out of it, so be it. I was more upset that I didn't look happy in it. I'm a pretty happy guy. But I do think the Times gave me a fair shot at it. And they gave me a larger arc to walk through because they talked about some of the things that I was doing, that I was dedicated to the community and did great service in this community for a very, very long time.
And hopefully, Tom, for a very long time to come, the Indian Road Cafe is open. You can look it up on Yelp. Great reviews, except for the political ones. Thane, final word to you, sir.
Well, what he just described is exactly what's going on in the broader culture. There's no allowance for human complexity. It's possible to be supporting Black Lives Matter and vote for Trump. It's possible that George Washington had slaves, but he also opposed slavery. Abraham Lincoln was not, when he first ran for president, was not opposed to slavery. This is the great emancipator. But because he wasn't opposed to slavery in his first election, he's now being wiped clean from the buildings of schools in San Francisco. So again, it's just like what you just described about our friend who's the Indian restaurant owner. And by the way, there was a restaurant, I don't know if this gentleman is Indian, but there was a restaurant in Northern California that was forced to shut down. That was a Mexican restaurant because the new recipes came from Mexico, and the owner of the restaurant was not Mexican, and it was called cultural appropriation.
Oh,
she had
gosh.
stolen the recipes of Mexican.
That's another
insane
movement against cultural appropriation. As if, the Chinese invented gunpowder. Are we not supposed to have guns? Because it's totally ridiculous. Are folks in Asia not allowed to wear European-style wedding dresses? I mean, it is totally insane, that culture. We'll have to continue that next time. Thank you very much, Thane Rosenbaum.
Thanks,
thank you very much, Tom
Anytime.
Bosco. Check out the Indian Road Cafe. Thane, saving free speech from itself. When did you write this, Thane?
It actually had the worst publication date on Earth, March 17th of last year, just as we shut down.
Oh, well.
So I've been talking about it, on Newsmax and other venues.
Okay, terrific. I will download it right away during the commercial break. We'll be right back.
Thanks.